From deep in the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast, brought to you by Texas Fishing Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your humble host, Dustin Warncke, joined today by my buddy,
Dustin Ellermann.
The other buddy, Dustin.
There you go.
Brother man, Dustin Ellermann.
Yeah, we can switch SHOT Show badges all week.
Because it says Dustin is the main, yeah. So we're at SHOT Show Range Day, kind of reporting post-Range Day 2019. Can't believe it's 2019, man. This is crazy. So, Dustin, I almost didn't get into the Range Day today.
Yeah, you had to make a special trip.
I had to make a special trip, and I finally got that taken care of. So, all that being said, what are some of the things that you've got some notes, I've got some notes, that we thought interesting? What I like to do on these shows where we do Range Days, the second Range Day podcast that we've done since this podcast has been going on for almost 4 years now. So what did you find interesting, Dustin?
Interesting. Well, let's see. What jumps off right off the bat was, the new stuff.
Right.
And Mossberg just released their, MC1 pistol. So it's a compact 9mm single stack. And, my question is, well, is it any good?
Right.
And I'm a trigger snob. So the first thing I'm going to do is go dry fire that thing.
Every gun we walk up to, when I first started going to Range Day with you 3 years ago, you were just like, all right, let's do the reset on the trigger, reset on the trigger, reset on the trigger. And I was just like, okay.
I got a standards.
I get that now. Wow.
And the trigger was surprisingly adequate, good even, right. for a subcompact budget gun. Because what was a MSRP $425, I think?
Yeah, $425.
So you're going to see street price probably $350. And, so the two mags or whatever that I put through it were great. I was hitting all the targets, and it's basic and simple. It's got a flat trigger, which a lot of the industry's going to, something you would customize later on.
Right.
And it's got that right out of the box, and with a nice trigger, nice reset, and several different flavors. One with a crossbolt safety, another with a laser. Night sights are a nice upgrade.
Right.
And
which aren't that much either.
Yeah, it was like $80 more for true glow, but I could tell the difference because as soon as I picked it up at the front firing line, I was like, "Oh snap, these are good sights!" And I knew I picked up.
In it, kind of the
and they're
nice
just
sights.
sharper cut. They're more
right.
precise with. They're plastic ones, I guess. Just less tolerances there, and they can be. I could just tell right away when I picked it up. I was like, they may actually made a winner. I kind of wanted to. I was fully prepared to snub my nose up at it and say, meh, because when rifle companies like Remington tried to make a pistol and it was stupid.
What, the LC9 or whatever it was?
I don't even remember, but all I remember was it got recalled within the first few months, and it looked like junk or weird. It looked like it was from the 30s, really. Okay. Which, anyway, they failed. But Mossberg may not have.
Being a shotgun company and then more recently a rifle company, now getting into handguns.
Yeah, and for the budget-minded and stuff, it's going to be a very big competitor to those like Kel-Tec, Smith & Wesson Shield. I could totally see myself recommending it if I can get my hands on it and it passes my reliability tests.
Which you put your guns through.
Yeah, I'll carry a gun for 2 months and shoot several hundred rounds through it before I even consider writing about it.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, it could be a wiener.
A wiener.
Wiener.
Well, and that's the thing that amazed me is that the price point's low, but it's not like of low quality. From the build quality and everything like that looked good. It wasn't like, I don't want to mention any names, but, those subpar, handgun companies out there that kind of make, your Saturday night specials. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It had no feel to that at all. It really felt solid in your hands. And it was kind of a shorter magazine well, too. So it kind of reminded me of, I guess, a Kel-Tec or something like that.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
A step up, though.
Yeah. For sure, yeah. But the same basic overall size. So it's easy conceal. I mean, budget gun. Easy to everyday carry. I mean,
yeah, and a good trigger. I as much as I try to carry a larger guns at times for everyday work, and as active as I am at camp,
sure.
I love the single stacks, and so that's a lot what I recommend.
That's cool. One of the other places you were going to today was Norma Ammunition, Ruag, Gecko, all the different lines that they carry there. New handgun ammunition and then a new rifle ammunition.
And 22.
That's right.
So I got to use
That's
their
right.
22
I forgot about the 22.
ammo. Yeah, with the it's some match grade stuff. I used it in the Defiance review that was just published, and I was real happy with it. Completely reliable, even more than my CCI standard I was usually shooting, and I mean, easily sending them through sub 1 inch holes at 50 yards.
Right.
And so that was my first experience with Norma, but they've got an impressive line coming up of 9mm, which is, you know, something else I love. It's just good 9mm ammo. Yeah. They've got stuff catered to the defense market. And then they also have, I forget all the exact brands or their ammo names, but they have one catered to the PCC market. So your pistol caliber carbines, they have optimum 9mm rounds for that, and that's gonna. And then they have one that was, I think it was actually designed to be a hollow point, but it didn't expand like they wanted, but they found out it was incredibly accurate. So they're selling it for match 9mm handgun ammo for like your Bianchi Cup and such.
Yeah.
That's so it's like, okay, hey, I'm right up there, because I love testing my guns far, like at 50 yards.
Right.
Like that, like, heck, you give me that Mossberg MC1, like I did my Walther PPSM2, the SIG 365, everything I'm doing in my reviews, I go all the way back to 50 yards.
Right.
And I'm
See
shooting
how accurate it is there.
Yeah, I mean, with the SIG, I was shooting 4-inch groups at 50 yards with it.
But you're top shot Dustin. I mean,
Okay.
I'm just messing.
So I'm digging this.
I think that's
ammo.
cool though that you show the the capabilities of that weapon at that distance.
But it requires good
don't
ammo.
do that. Oh,
Yeah.
It does for sure.
So I know I've used. I fell in love with Black Hills Honey Badger ammo this year, just because it's stupid accurate, and so this Norma stuff may be right up that alley.
Oh, it's good. And then on the BondStrike, and then also I have the 2 lines of ammunition that we reviewed for the Texas Fish and Game's digital program, Tex African Safari, which I was telling you about earlier. Really cool, really overall fantastic. Accuracy. I killed 2 whitetail deer this year with the Norma ammo that they sent me. I mean, high quality, rifle ammunition too. So I just at least wanted to pitch that as well.
Yeah.
So
liking that brand.
Yeah, that's good. What else? You talked about the Walther, so let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so the big buzz is their new Q5 match steel frame. And I've always liked Walther because, again, their factory stock triggers just are great.
Right.
And so the Q5 is, now they had their Q5, which is just their long slide competition ready 9mm, and I've been eyeing it for a while because
I know.
They came up with that right after I started tapering out on my 3-gun at work, or I would have been all over it. But now they have the the steel frame one, and so of course it's a little heavier, a little bulkier. It was shot great. It's not compensated like I thought. The slide cuts were just lightning cuts.
Okay.
And so while don't fool yourself into thinking it's got a comp on it, and it was all fine and dandy. They are going to be coming out with some smaller grip panels for it, which was one of my first complaints. Is like, man, the Q5 polymer feels better in my hand.
Right.
So I'm still kind of leaning towards the original Q5 just because the ergonomics still a little better, but it sounds like they're going to have options for that steel frame. So it's available. It's cool.
No, that's cool. And I mean, Walther's always made high quality, handguns, and I got to shoot a little bit today, and then you got to shoot. That was the first place we went together, and I got to meet with the guys over there. And I mean, you've been a fan of Walther for a long time, haven't you?
Since James Bond as a teenager. No, for real, that golden eye when they went with the new P99, I was like, oh, that's mine. But on that same note, they just reintroduced the PPK and PPKS.
Right. Which
so
was
I didn't
last
shoot
year,
them.
right? Was
no, I think it was just like this month.
This month, okay. All
because I guess they imported them all under Smith & Wesson and Inner Arms, but that was 20-something years ago.
Right.
And I guess they haven't had it back in their lineup. I hadn't been paying attention because once you shoot a blowback 380, it sucks. And it stings, and it's not the smoothest gun in the world. I didn't shoot it today, but now I'm wishing I had, just to see if it's any better than,
Sure.
Like I've got a Burst of Thunder that just absolutely brutal to shoot.
It's just hard to get.
Yeah, and so I always thought the Walther's kind of the same because they're the same build, but I bet it's a little better.
No, that's cool. That's cool. And I mean, that,
kind of vintage retro there.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, so you draw back from the days of James Bond and all that other stuff.
Yeah, that's the best marketing Walther ever had.
Yeah,
I bet if they may not even be an American company if it wasn't for that. I'm serious. 'Cause, anyway,
it was a good marketing there. You know,
absolutely.
At that point, yeah, because everybody wanted one of those guns. You're fine. One thing I was going to mention, Winchester came out with a new round, the 350 Legend, and they just announced that today at Range Day. You know, they say it's going to be more powerful than a 30-30, a 300 Blackout, and a 223. It's going to be better performance. You know, I really think, you know, overall the innovations, and I say this just about every show, I don't know, I drive my listeners crazy with this, but, you know, the innovations, man, I mean, we're the golden age. Yeah. This is really good. I mean, and of course, new caliber, new rifle, new, you know, everything, and so everything kind of feeds on itself.
So here I'm thinking new suppressor,
right? New suppressor.
I have a 35 suppressor.
Caliber,
yeah,
35 caliber suppressor. You can't use your 308.
Well, Bowers does make a 375 verse 375.
Is that for like African?
It'll handle for it's
like
it's made for
H&H?
the hardcore stuff, but it would also sub calibers like the 35 would be perfect for.
A lot of technical talking on this podcast, but this is stuff we normally don't get into when we do these shows. But you are like, you know, I'm like one of your biggest fans. So. And you tell real quick sidetrack. One of your videos that you recently did on your YouTube channel, and people get Top Shot Dustin and just Dustin Ellermann with 2 N's, right?
Yeah,
so they can find you. Okay.
Yeah, type in Dustin Ellermann on YouTube. How to do it.
Yeah, and I know a lot of our listeners watch my stuff on YouTube, and it's one of those things that it's interesting to see the synergy you have on camera with some of the stuff you do, like, for instance, the shooting through a tree. I mean, I was reading some of the comments you got from some of the wackadoodles out there today, and I was just like, you're kidding me, these people are actually on YouTube, but you've got some cool stuff out there right now.
Oh, thanks. It started with that tree video going viral this last fall. And so the basis was, I just figured, let's see what'll shoot through a tree. Because now trees have different properties, and which wood, and even which season you shoot them. Well, which season it is.
You shoot them in.
Yeah, because they'll have more water in the spring than in the winter, you know, and when they're more dormant and whatnot. So I was just like, let's see what happens. So I took it was like a 19 diameter inch pine that's right in front of my shooting berm. That's kind of in the way anyway. Oh. And so I'm like, well, let's see what happens. And so I got everything up from the 22, 9mm, 45, 223, 308, 7.62, 39, 300 Win Mag, 338 Lapua, and then all the way to 50 BMG.
Gee whiz, man.
Well, I had to cover it all.
I guess so.
That was
the whole
just
spectrum. Man.
Well, that was part 1. Part 2, we went hardcore with all the steel core stuff, the surplus, so the 5.45 by 39, and like a 8mm Mauser, and like 7.62 by 54R, and
the one that gets to my heart.
Yeah, and then but the real champion that even outperformed 50 BMG for their penetration through the tree, through the test gel media, through the backup test gel media. Yeah. 30-06 M2 API.
Really?
Like the old retro World War II
old
Garand
school.
black tip. They
still make those com block, those M block
for the Grands?
For the Grands,
yeah.
M block magazine.
Yeah, and that's why I actually shot it with.
Clips. Oh wow.
And every single round went through everything, the steel core. It would shed all the copper and lead, but that tungsten core, not really steel, would go through it was legit, even more so than the 50 BMG API.
Golly.
And so they can go find all them videos, and then we go beef up the stunts and shoot from a trampoline. And
I saw a part of that on fishgame.com blog. Yeah, you were doing some of that, so I mean, it's just
having fun.
Great content. And you camp his way, obviously. Tell somebody about that. Marksman camp.
So my day job is running Camp His Way. So Summer Christian Kids Camp, and we had over 2,000 campers come through this summer. But then in the off season, we get to have fun on some of these weekends. In the spring and fall, we have the youth marksmanship camps. Right. And so we have 4 camps scheduled this fall, and 3 of them are full. There's one in March open to 9 to 13-year-olds that still has a few spaces left. And now we let parents participate if they want to as well.
Oh, goodness.
And so we're limited to 12 participant spots, but it's just like being on Top Shot for kids.
Yeah.
Because at night we go down the zip line with paintball guns. We're shooting archery, blowguns, throwing tomahawks, slingshots, throwing stars, and that's just on Saturday. Shooting pellet rifles off of unstable platforms. Suppressed 22s all Sunday long. Shooting cannons, and everybody gets to pull the trigger on my M99 Barrett, so 50 BMG, and bring home a steel casing. Yeah, the neighbors love that.
That's so. It's like a shockwave across the whole area.
Yeah. So it's a blast, though.
That's funny. Back to Mossberg real quick.
Yep.
The shockwave. You and I both got to shoot. Speaking of shockwaves, we both got to shoot the shockwave. It's a miniature shotgun, I guess, if you will, or it's a cut down.
It's not a short barrel shotgun, but it's like one.
It has a release, like a pistol grip buttstock, right? Okay, and what a not even an 18-inch barrel, right? I mean, I don't even know.
I guess not.
Yeah.
No, because that's part of the
law,
draw to it.
Right.
But so if you put a real stock on it, you'd be committing a felony without
but because it's in a small stock. But you talk about home defense.
It's the overall length.
It's overall length. Right.
Since it's not a specific overall length, you don't have to have the infringement stamp.
But infringement stamp.
Well, that's what it is when you try to license a constitutional right.
Yeah. That I got to shoot that with the lasers. They're new.
Yeah, Crimson Trace came up with it's mounting on the back of the receiver there. It's got like 3 paddle switches, and it was the green laser. We're out in the desert in the sunlight, and we could see the laser, so it's doing its job.
What, 20 yards or whatever that was? Probably less
far,
than that. 10 yards or whatever, less than that.
But
I mean, just blasting. I mean, that was with light. That was with light. Yeah, exactly. That was with light loads.
And you still felt it pretty good. So
yeah,
it would be a fun range toy to bring out. Hey, I gotta try this. Practically speaking, I guess if you needed something short and sweet without the stamp, but it's got a cool factor.
Yeah,
it's a heck of a range toy.
You shot it. I filmed you shooting it last time.
Yeah, but they had those pansy half loads, so it was nice to shoot the real loads. Yeah, and even then, you're going to put defensive loads in it later.
Right.
That's going to be an experience.
Yeah, experience of kicking like a mule. And it's funny you mentioned that because my buddy Danny Barry that runs DB Hunting Ranch, talking about him on the show a lot. He bought a coach gun the other day. You know what I'm talking about? I think Century imports them. Double barrel, break open.
Those are fun.
I mean, old school. And he's just like,
rabbit ears.
Like I'm going to defend the homestead with this. Yeah, the rabbit ears. Yeah, with the coach gun. I thought that was funny. So anyway, but
Well, speaking of shotguns, we both got to shoot a fully auto AA-12.
Yep.
Solovictus,
and then also we got to shoot the carbine, 9mm, I think it was.
Yeah, they had a few out there. Nice looking guns.
Oh my gosh! I mean, full automatic. I mean, I don't get to do that every day. You, however, Mr. Top Shot. But I mean, it's an experience because you don't get to. I mean, here in Vegas, they have like ranges you can go to and just dump mags.
Yeah.
I mean, over and over again and do mag nuts. With fully automatic, but you pay for it.
Yeah.
You got to buy the ammo and all that other stuff, or do a package of the ammo. But the cool thing about range day that we get to do is we get to shoot all this stuff for free, and we get to shoot some full auto stuff. And Norma had a minigun.
I was gonna bring that up. That was slick. They wouldn't let me on the truck.
Like 300 rounds a second.
They were blowing through it, dude. I was expecting, a little bitty burst, and they're like, bah!
They were just letting it ride, man. It was mounted on the back of a pickup truck, man. I mean, and I was just like, wow. I mean, and it wasn't getting old. People were like going around it and looking at it, and checking it out, sizing it, what made it work, and everything, and belt fed, I mean, legit. I can't believe they didn't let you, Dustin Ellermann,
I guess you should have asked more.
I guess you should have. So, anyway, but no, that was cool. You were telling me about FLIR?
Yeah, at the long range booth, I got to play with the FLIR thermal. In the past, last year, just about a little less than a year ago, I was with Lone Star bores, but we were using pulsars, and so it was like, hey, FLIR, I'll try that out, and they had 3 3 tiers of their.
Okay.
And I forget all the stats and stuff, but the low end one with the smallest lens was around 2,200. So that's pretty good for an entry thermal.
Sure.
And so I was whacking steel at 100 yards with that, but then I traded it out with the one that cost $3,700, and it was with a 50 millimeter lens. And I could see the shooting clays, in the day in the desert heat, and I was blasting them every single shot.
In the light, I mean.
Yeah, in the light.
Sunlight.
So, thermal works best with a contrasting temperature.
Right.
So, when it's cold at night and hogs are 98 degrees, you can see them really nice.
Right.
So this was just clay sitting out on the berm. I was really impressed.
Right? Assuming the ambient temperature, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why, like a black steel target absorbing the sun will be warmer than the ambient surroundings, so you can see it well.
Sure.
But I didn't expect orange clays on the berm to have much of a contrast. But with that 50 millimeter lens, I was hitting them just fine. And then I didn't play with the next level up one, but they had a 75 millimeter lens there as well. So it's some pretty cool stuff.
And that's thermal.
Thermal.
From FLIR. Wow.
Yeah, and then, but right down the lane from them was that night vision booth. I got to get my. It wasn't night. They're out of Fort
Night
Worth.
Core?
I'm gonna have to look.
You had your card on there.
Yeah, I have a card. Let me pull that out.
No, it was Night Sight, wasn't it?
That sounds more like it.
Night Sight, Fort Worth, Texas. That's it, dude.
Yeah, that's it.
Here.
Okay, cool.
Night Sight,
yeah. So and so what they have is kind of a budget night vision ish setup. Now it's really ugly and bulky because it uses your existing rifle scope and it clamps on there, and then it has like the computer video core that also clamps onto the scope side, and then it has the illuminator / screen that sits on top of your optic.
Right.
And so you got 3 bulky things on the gun, but for under $1,000, you can see at for up to 100 yards, and then they have a 300 yard and a 500 yard version. And so and it works not like night vision, but infrared, like your the cameras on security cameras on your house would.
Right, with infrared.
And so that's an infrared illuminator that you're nothing else is seeing but your screen and what you're picking it up. And with that again. I was popping shooting clays again at 100 yards, no problem.
With all that stuff on your scope, though,
it's bulky.
It's bulky and cumbersome, but it didn't get in the way with you shooting.
You don't have to do a cheek weld. So they pretty much just.
Okay,
So
I see.
I'm used to that from shooting night vision anyway.
Chin weld, right?
You don't have to.
Okay,
you don't have to have chin nothing because you're not aligning any optical lens. You just put your shoulder against it. Because like when I shoot with mine, I've got an infrared laser, and I've shot in varmints before, just from the hip. I'm just sitting down, and I'll just put the buttstock against my hip, and I'm using the laser, and I got night vision. You just shoot from there.
This reminds me of the story Chester told about that time that you hit a bunny rabbit with a tomahawk.
Well,
he's that good, folks.
Don't come within 60 yards of my throwing range.
Yeah, or else. But that's why you're Top Shot, Dustin. But I'm not trying to inflate your ego too much. I really, I was a big fan of Top Shot when it came out, when it first came out. You were season 3, I think, which is
correct.
2012. I think it came out in 2010. And History Channel, I would always tune in, and like I said, just see you. And then I saw Chester Moore. I knew who he was, but I wasn't working for the magazine.
Yeah, he was on the last episode.
On the last episode, and I was like, I know Chester. I read his art. I read his column in Texas Vision Game. And so anyway, it's just kind of
small world.
I'm not trying to be a fanboy on you. I'm just saying you know the handguns and stuff better than I do. That's why I wanted to have you on. So, and the thermals and that kind of stuff. That the tech side, the technical spec side, a little bit more than I do. So that's good. Black Rain Ordnance, PCC.
Yeah, got to shoot their 9mm PCC. There is nice and accurate. We're shooting 9mm, 150 yards freestanding.
Right, and nailing it. The PCC stands for
pistol caliber carbine, yeah. And so it's the new fad, and it's got its place. And I mean, it's even entering into a bit of competition lately, and they're having their own divisions.
Right.
Because it's half price to shoot 9mm ammo through your AR instead of 223, and then I like it because you throw a suppressor on the end and shoot some 147s, then you're completely subsonic, and so that's more fun. And then you can shoot. We're talking about shooting far, but normal, like steel targets, you don't want to shoot within 50 to 100 yards with a centerfire rifle cartridge.
Right.
But you can be as close as 10 yards with a pistol cartridge.
Yes, you can.
And so steel targets are fun, and so that was fun.
And it's kind of cool to be at a range with you, and it's just like, go, bing, 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 bing. I mean, you hear the target ding every time.
Oh, the Black Rain one, though, is so far, you had to delay.
You had to delay.
Yeah.
And I was listening to that, and I was like, that's kind of cool. Ding, ding. I mean, you had to wait for it, but it was really fun, to listen to. So that was a lot of fun, and we were all wearing ear protection going around there. But then we go to like the OSS silencer booth, and you didn't even need hearing protection for them. Your main thing was asking, why will this have blowback on that particular suppressor?
And that's their selling point. OSS makes a different suppressor where pretty much every other suppressor in the industry still works with baffles. You have monolithic baffles, right, or you have your K baffle stack, or megas. Anyway, but that produces a lot of blowback, which the gases that would normally go out the muzzle end of your barrel come back through your breech and can sting you in the face.
Yes.
And OSS goes a different way about it and redirects the gases in the can and just like changes directions, and it flows back and forth. Kind of, they've equated it to like kind of it looks like the inside of a jet turbine engine and
right,
and whatnot, and slows the gases down and lets them eventually vent out the front.
Right.
And then has a very unique mounting system that it vents out the front, and every shot you take, they're ported in a way that it actually tightens the suppressor onto the muzzle again.
Right.
And so I had kind of wrote off OSS years ago when they were under different ownership, and they had different quality and different customer service, and they got a bad rap back then.
Kind of like Olympigarbs was back in the day before they, just as an example. Bad reputation, then they came back from it.
Yeah, that's right. Different owners post 2016, right, and I just haven't messed with it, and I finally said, look, because I'm having issues with all my suppressors, even with the gas tuning, the suppressor bolts, all that stuff still stinging me in the face when I shoot, especially on the SBR side.
I think it's old if you shoot near as much as you do, dude. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that gets old.
As far
as getting blasted in the face with your suppressor.
And, to the point where I like my 300 blackout for self-defense because I'm going to suppress it. So I can't, and I get stung, when I shoot fast with a 223, and I don't want to, if it's in a self-defense situation, I didn't grab iPro. I don't want to catch gas in the eye and take me out of efficiency of a fight that way.
Right.
And so if I grab their standard AR with a OSS suppressor, I turned it so my face is over the action.
Yes.
So I'm not using the sights. I'm tucking this under my shoulder. I'm putting my eye right over the action, and just let off all 5 rounds as fast as I could, and nothing to it. It's like there was no blowback. Now they admit themselves it's a few decibels louder at the muzzle, but we're not putting our ear at the muzzle. We're putting it back behind the rifle, and that's what I'm concerned about. And it's all fine and here and safe back there. So I'm hoping I can get my hands on one and do some testing. When I'm not at a loud range with miniguns going off.
Yeah, and lots of other shooting.
Yeah. You can't.
You walking down, it's like ding, 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 bing, 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 bang, bang, bang. I mean,
you'd be lying if you said, "Ooh, that sounds."
It's really quiet.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's a really noisy range. So, and one of the things that remind me, the CSASS is the compact semi-automatic sniper system that is for the U.S. Army.
Yeah.
They designed a suppressor for that one, right?
Yes, yeah. So that is part of the new Army contract for their sniper system.
20,000, something like that, units. I mean, that's what he was saying.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean, it's a slick looking rifle.
Yeah, it is. So it's good looking, and that's probably in 308, right? Is what you said. Okay, that's what I figured.
Or 762 by
51. Forgive me. Yeah, so that's right. What else?
What else? Oh, we stopped by Franklin again because last year they had their crazy football Nerf shooting. Their proprietary bullet,
Franklin Armory,
without the rifling, so it wasn't an SBR, and so they're continuing their innovation this year with the Providence. Now they did not have it there because it's still prototype form, so they didn't let us shoot it. But we got to talk to them and fill in the blanks of. They had a 1-minute teaser video that showed like someone kind of shooting it, but no details of how it worked, but what it looked like is a double-action revolver trigger on an AR-15 style rifle, a 9mm pistol carbine, and when the dude pulled the trigger, the action would go back, and then when you hit the ball at the end, the action goes forward, loads around, and fires, but does not cycle. So your empty casing is still in there.
So what I was saying, it's almost like an open bolt, semi-automatic or open
That
bolt.
doesn't cycle, though.
But I know.
The trigger,
I don't know what to call that thing, dude.
That's why
that is
innovation.
Proprietary innovation, I guess.
But the whole reason of this is kind of just, just sticking it to the politicians of trying to ban semi-auto, because this is not a semi-auto.
No, by default it's not. Or
and
by
so
definition
it's not an assault weapon.
Right.
But you could still put high-capacity mags in it. You could still shoot it almost as fast, but not as accurate because you're shooting a double-action trigger, per se. But I appreciate the innovative part that pretty much says, oh, yeah? We'll
get
what are you
going
to do about this?
Yeah, what are you going to do about this, big guy?
It kind of cracks me up. Like One Shot Show CMMG had a 50 caliber muzzle loader, AR-15 upper. It was like, okay, here, ban this.
Ban this single shot, baby. Single shot smoke pole for an AR-15 frame.
Imagine there wasn't a market for that. Imagine that.
You talked about it the first time you were on this podcast. You talked about that.
It cracks me up.
It's just hilarious.
I wanted just to have it for
just
collectorship.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that Franklin Armory's done a really good job of that as far as the innovation they come with, just to kind of stick it to the man, but also just to make you go, didn't know you could do that. I mean, with the Echo trigger, am I saying that right? That they had before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. The push,
pull,
and release,
push. And it was technically semi-auto, but it wasn't technically fully auto.
Yeah.
But it ran like it was fully auto, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Increase your rate of fire for the shooter.
So that kind of stuff has just been really like, wow, I didn't know something like that. I mean, it's just that they've really been innovative. So anyway. I thought that was good, so let me write this down. All right, other Crimson Trace you talked about?
Oh, yeah. Crimson Trace got into the optics market. So they've got red dots of all shapes and sizes, from little ones that'll fit on your handgun, but it's a larger window than normal red dots now, so it's going to be good for competition, probably not what you want to stick in your waistband. I mean, for real, I carry the PPS M2 now. I had an article a while back with the shield red dot, and so it's small enough. It's whatever. But the Crimson Trace is like twice as big, which is nice to shoot though, because you got a bigger window. So hey, it's cool.
So February issue, and then the blog's up right now.
Yep, blog and video's up now.
Blog and video are up, but the February issue will have in Dustin's column, Dustin Ellermann's column on the
Walther PPS M2 with the shield red dot.
Right.
And but the Crimson Trace, so they got like the lower budget, I think. Maybe, if I'm remembering right, starting around $200 for some of the red dots, going up to $400-600, and then it said with the outstanding battery life, like greater than 3-year battery life, just leaving it on high the whole time. So,
kind of like EOTech stuff was.
No, EOTech does not. Aimpoint does.
Aimpoint does. Okay.
I've got a little beef with EOTech because you always have to turn it on, and they'll actually drain the batteries by not being used.
That's happened to me before too. My CR123 battery.
Exactly. So I'm not. You got to maintain those if you're going to use them.
Yeah, no, that's true. I was just using that because they have like a ridiculously long battery on
that's
like
Aimpoint.
The Aimpoint. That's okay, cool.
Yeah, not
I had the wrong one. Sorry.
But
this is why I'm having you on the show and not me do this by myself. All right.
Well, Crimson Trace also has glass optics now, and magnified up to like 25. Power, and it was like 25. They had some lower 1-4s, some kind of beefy reticles in there,
like 40, 50 millimeter reticles. Not reticles. I'm sorry.
The tubes were all 34 mil tubes, so nice. I like a big tube.
I do too.
And but they're higher end, so they're talking like starting around 1,100 price.
Oh wow!
And so I mean it is all right. Oh, the one unique thing I did like it though, it had white like laser etched witness marks.
Okay.
For mounting level on scope rings. So you can see where your scope rings separate and just make visually check on each side and do the same space. If your scope ring's perfectly, level with the base, I was like, I kind of like it.
That's really cool because you and I have mounted a lot of scopes over the years.
I hate mounting scopes.
And because you've got to get it just right, or else it
has
throws
to
you
be
off.
level.
The can has to be level, exactly. So you have to. If you don't mount the ring on there, the right way, then you're going to have issues. And I deal with a lot of older, lower end guns and stuff, so I have all kinds of SKSs and stuff like that. And the thing is, you've got to be careful, and that kind of helps you be careful with it, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
So I guess you are at the mercy of what rings you have, and if they clamped on the rail perfectly level, or if they're not. So that is a variable, but. At least you have an option to look there.
That's good.
That's something to look out for. I didn't like their higher end ones. The turrets didn't lock though, so you could easily bump them off.
Okay.
Which, if you set your 0 right, you have the 0 you could click back onto.
Right.
But who knows what kind of situation you're in where that could be bumped and you didn't have time to check it to 0.
Or your
I
kid,
don't like that.
like my kid,
go a full rotation.
Exactly. I let him use a scope for my Air Force Air Guns Talon P one time, which is a pistol, pistol size, like an SBR air gun. And basically, I was just showing it to him, and I didn't have the turrets locked down on the scope, and he just twisted that sucker all. I'll be like, I just sighted that thing in, man. But, it's no harm, no foul. I mean, that's just the way kids are sometimes. But anybody can knock something like that off. I think it's important to have something that's
like my burrises that I have on my LaRues, you just have to pull them up to adjust,
right?
And so
I see, and then pull them up and adjust while you have it pulled
and then
up.
you just push it back down.
That's
so
cool.
if I'm not sold on that yet.
All right, that's cool. You visited Chris too, right?
Yeah, Chris had all their vectors out again.
KRISS.
Yeah, and I shot the 10mm one just because hey, yeah. Vector's just a hard sell though because the actions are made to counteract the recoil of shooting full auto, so they kind of stay on. But when you can't market that to civilians, and so it's like, hey, here's this big cool looking semi-auto
that you can't own.
No, you can own the semi-auto. But it's just kind of like...
But if it was only full auto, is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
I was just making sure I'm picking up what you're laying down, brother.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So I went... I got some more details today talking to them about the Defiance rifle that... I think I posted that video. That blog post is up. So the Defiance is like... it's a high-end 22 AR-15. But the $700 price tag could be a put off for a lot of people for a 22 AR-15.
Yeah.
But it is a high end one where it's stupid accurate, and it takes 10-22 barrels, so you can put whatever you want in it.
Yeah.
Because it just has this little sleeve adapter.
That's right. I remember something about that.
Yeah, and so it mounts into it's just an AR-15 upper. But then I had a beef with their lower wasn't milled out to accept a buffer tube.
Right.
So because of course with 22 you don't need that. But that means we're spending $700 for this high-end AR-15 style rifle that could be an AR-15, and you could throw another upper on it, but you can't. But Chris has their own reasons
because that's proprietary to them, right?
No, it's not that. It's actually has to do with they do a lot of export business.
Oh, okay.
And if it was something that regular AR-15 parts, like especially for Canada and all, they would lose their sport configuration category, and then it would screw all that export stuff up. So at least now it makes sense to me, even though business-wise I'm like, why don't you just sell the upper part? Let people build their own 22, and because all you'd need is that mag catch and the upper, and not even a barrel. Although they made a nice barrel, it was very accurate 1022 barrel. And then anyway, I told them they could just sell those off the shelf, and you don't have to go through an FFL even.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see if they take my advice. Do I get licenses and royalties?
I know. We'll see. Okay. I'll see what I can work out for you, brother.
I like it.
It's just a good idea.
That makes sense to me.
But we got to take that good idea and market it, man. That's what I'm into. Is marketing. Cha-ching. You have Mantis X on your list.
Yeah, Mantis
shooting systems, correct?
Yeah, they make a it's a really unique sensor, and I know I blogged about it, but it was years back.
Yep.
And that just clamps on to any pistol or rifle. And it's for dry fire because, trigger snobs like me, we dry fire and stuff. And dry fire is free.
But it's free, and it also is good practice, yes?
Oh, absolutely. Excellent practice.
Putting a quarter on top of your pistol, that kind of thing.
So this is the high-end way of putting the quarter on top of your front sight.
That's why I brought that up.
Yeah, okay. You're great, man.
All right, good.
This is awesome. It's like you do this professionally.
Here. Yeah, I'll try.
And so it uses an app on your phone. It's Bluetooth, and so you snap it on your rail, and I tried to fool it. Okay, it'll sense when your trigger, your hammer striker falls. And so it has a gyroscope like technology in there, and it will show on the app how much you actually moved your muzzle, if you dipped, if you jerked when that hammer falls. And so it'll draw you little lines on your screen like this is where your muzzle was, and so you can really diagnose, and it'll grade you, up to, like I've had a 99.9 once, but I've never had that 100% because it's like impossible because something's moving in there when you do that.
Always.
And so anyway, I've thought it was awesome for years. They have their apps being updated all the time with new drills. You can do live fire mode. You can do CO2 mode. You can do airsoft mode, and it'll just it's like a digital instructor for your gun.
That's cool.
But their new version, the X10 Plus, or is it the X Plus? Anyway, their new one.
Their new one.
You go look it up. It was so new it was 3D printed at the show today, but it's like a third of the size. It's got more battery life, and they've got a new high-end one that will actually measure and grade your draw stroke even. So it'll have a buzzer and stuff, and it can tell, if you're hitting your gun too hard and your holstered gun too hard with your hand and screwing with efficiency there. If you're fishing with your muzzle or bowling as you draw it up, or so it'll help you fine tune even your draw stroke now.
Wow.
So
that's cool.
It's legit. Hardcore trainers. I mean, it's from 100 to 250 for the high end one, or around $100 a little more or so. If you're serious about firearms training, even if you are capable to have the range time, you can't neglect dry fire practice because live fire disguises things and also can build bad habits if you're flinching under the live fire, and if nobody's watching you to cover if you're doing it's like buying a personal instructor and being able to do it yourself. It's pretty cool.
What do one of those systems run? Did you ever find that out? What the MSRP is?
Like I said, the high end one is going to be around $250. That does everything. The lower end, the basic one, the one I had and did a write up of is a little over $100, I believe.
That's it?
Yeah.
You got dry fire training in your home.
Yeah.
You can do indoors.
Totally.
And it helps you become a better shooter.
Mm-hmm. And you can even put it on rifles and everything.
That's cool.
If your handgun doesn't have a rail, they sell magazine pad adapters.
Okay,
and then
cool.
it goes on your magazine,
and it senses down at the magazine level, or otherwise on the rail.
And so the new one that is like, well, how am I going to draw stroke practice with that? The new model is so small it will fit in any holster that is capable of holding a light.
Okay.
So yeah.
So
a lot of the tactical guys have that already. So
yeah, the tactical lights. Yeah. So basically, you would swap out your light for this device.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
And then you can work on your draw stroke too.
That's great. So much cool stuff, man.
That's what SHOT Show's about.
Oh man, that's what. So we're here all week, and we both leave on Friday. And my plan is just to bring you guys as many podcasts as I can to just crank them out here in the hotel room where we're at. What are your thoughts of where all this stuff is heading, man? I mean, this is we talked about a lot of innovations, a lot of new stuff. I keep on thinking somebody's going to run out of ideas one day, but it never happens because there's always something better you can improve on in the shooting sports.
Yeah. I mean, you're right, and that's why we love coming to here. And
because you're amazed by what's next, what's new, every year.
And so this, firearms industry goes in waves, and so they call this right now the Trump slump, which, anyway, it's debatable. But
it wasn't as bad as it was right after the election.
Yeah,
everybody pulled their ad dollars after the election. I was like, oh my
gosh.
Yeah.
So
it hurt, man. It hurt bad.
So firearms industry is booming in sales, when we're all scared about losing our rights.
Our guns. Yeah.
But the positive thing about when sales go down, innovation goes up.
Yeah.
And so in the companies, instead of selling a buttload of the regular ARs, are saying, well, we got all this time on our hands. What can we make new, and how can we make stuff better? And that's what we're getting to see.
And how can we improve this? How can we do better? I mean, there's just so much different, stuff that we can do around there. So, I mean, that's a nice thing about what we do in media and you in social media a lot is that we get to, play with this stuff, but we also get to bring it to you, the end consumer, because, we're doing the dirty work, I guess, if you will. It's fun dirty work.
Dirty work.
I guess.
I mean, it was really sandy and windy at the desert, so
we all got windburn, but it wasn't that bad. So anyway, but well, thank you, Dustin. Thanks for coming.
Hey, my pleasure.
On the show, appreciate it. How can people find you?
Yeah, Top Shot Dustin. You pretty much type that into anything. You'll find either the Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, website. Marksman Camp is marksmancamp.com. Pretty easy.
You've got to be one of the most prolific guys that I've had on the show as far as followers and stuff, because you got right around how many YouTube subscribers now?
Shoot, I'm about to hit 300,000.
Gee whiz, that's crazy. So, I mean, you're right up there with a lot of these guys that are doing YouTube stuff. And so, I mean, like I said, I invite you to check out Dustin's stuff, because the one thing I learned about Dustin Ellermann is just how to shoot better form, and just how to do, and just the education that you put out there for people, I think is great.
Well, thanks. After range day, I was saying, I think SHOT Show range day needs to have a prerequisite training day before.
I know, you need to watch a video before you go.
Gosh, put your chicken wing down. Get your finger out of there. What is with your grip?
Yeah, I even heard you talk about that. That guy had his finger in the trigger guard, and he wasn't even near ready to fire. I was just like, oh my gosh, man.
That's why I carry a tourniquet and trauma kit these days.
I know. I saw you pull one of those out before we sat down and started recording. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Dustin said it. And you told me the first time we shot together, you're like, if something ever happens, this is what I need you to do, Dustin. Here's the blood clotting or whatever, the stuff that you have, the tourniquet stuff. And I'm just like, wow, that's... But, it's about being safe out there, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So... can't put enough, emphasis on safety. So
I almost says use that one SHOT Show. A lady fell down the escalator right in front of me. I thought it was crazy. I jumped over this dude to get to her and help her, and then someone else was smarter and stopped the escalator. And she had hit her head on the step and stuff. We were about to go. It was all good in the end, but it was kind of crazy.
It's kind of cool. You keep that medical kit with you. You never know where you're going.
We always do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So. All right, thanks so much for coming, man. Now, have an awesome day in the outdoors, guys. We'll see you on the next podcast.
Bye!